What's up? Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. I am your host, Harrison Graham. We are live here on YouTube, also on Rumble. And today's show is presented by Manscaped. If you want the best men's grooming products out there, head over to manscaped.com. You use promo code BEARS20. It's going to get you 20% off plus free shipping. What's going on, guys? Another training camp practice in the books, the first padded practice in the books. We'll break all of that down, talk about some of the headlines from today's outing at Halas Hall. But in the meantime, we'll let the audience build up here. Shout out your city. Let us know where you guys are watching from, and then we'll give you guys some shout outs as well. Already got a lot of FGBs going in the chat here as well. Daryl says, hey, Harrison, FGB. What's going on, Daryl? Let's see. Matt Nagy sucks in the chat. That's always good to see. Plano, Texas from Chris. We got George in Butte, Illinois. Laura in Chicago. Derek is in Addison. Julian in Chicago. Mesquite, Michigan from Ernest. Michael's in Indiana. We've got, let's see here, H. Scott in Canton. William is in Columbus. Thomas Gage in Mayfair, Chicago area. We got Thornton. We got some FARs coming in too as well. Raleigh, North Carolina is where Jerome is watching. Arlington Heights, Bear Down from Shane. Ian is in Missouri. We got Elk Grove Village from Ray. Laura in Chicago. H-Town from Tiff Tiff. Jonesboro, Arkansas is where Chaz is. Let's see. Arlington Heights from Marcine. Hook'em Horns, Austin, Texas from S-Rod. Is that producer Coop's burner account? I'm thinking so on that one. All right, the live poll question of the day. Will Tevin Jenkins get traded? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. Will Tevin Jenkins get traded? We got 92 votes in. 57% say yes. 43% say no. I kind of think he's going to at this point. We'll expand on this. A lot of Tevin Jenkins discussion on today's live show. I've got a feeling he's going to get traded. Let's see. Lil Offspring says yes. Daryl says yes. Your mom says yes. Ian, Busy, Tommy all say yes. Christopher says no. Nick says yes. Bye-bye Tevin from Philip. Christopher says no. Hopefully not yet from TD Productions. I mean, yeah, the outcome we would all prefer is for him to work out and be the starting right tackle for this team, but that just doesn't seem to be the case right now. Ronald says yes. Tyler says no. Malcolm, yes. Tyler again saying no. Skylar saying no. Jerome saying yes. He'll end up in Atlanta. It's possible. You know Ryan Pace is lurking. You know he is lurking to get his hands on another Chicago Bear. James says no. Matt says yes. I don't know. His tweet was odd. Yes, he did tweet out just a little bit ago in response to somebody. So it's a weird situation. There's no doubt about that when it comes to Tevin Jenkins. I'd like for him to work out, but I am losing confidence more and more by the day. Speaking of Jenkins, would you trade him for a fourth-round pick? And I put this on my Twitter and my Instagram, this poll, at HGramNFL, if you want to follow me over there on both platforms. And it was more yeses than nos, I think. T for trade, basically saying yes. K for keep, no, you don't want to trade him. Actually, final results here. There's a couple hours left on my Twitter. It's my pinned tweet if you want to go vote over there. Would you trade Teven Jenkins for a fourth-round pick? This is actually crazy. 300 votes almost. 49.8% say yes. 50.2% say no. So 50-50. Would you do it? T for trade, K for keep. TD Production says keep. Arthur says keep. Your mom says trade. Ernest says trade. Christopher says keep. Let's see. Tommy says a second-round pick. Dude, you drafted him in the second round. He's barely played, and he's disgruntled, it seems like. You're not getting a second for him. I don't think you're getting a third. Tyrone says trade. We got Marcine saying keep. Trade him for a starter. I mean, what position? Are you trading him for a receiver, a different offensive lineman? I don't think that's going to happen. I think if you trade him, it's going to be for a draft pick, personally. So pretty 50-50 in the chat, just like my Twitter suggested as well. So very interesting. I think fourth, fifth round is probably what you'd be looking at for Tevin Jenkins, which obviously would be 50, 60 cents on the dollar for Chicago. All right, you guys know what to do. If you hate the Packers, get the FGBs flowing in the comments. FGB, as always. Is Don Burr back in the chat? Am I seeing that? I don't see them yet, but I do see the FDETs. Get the FGBs going if you hate the Packers. The real ones know what to do here. Malcolm says FGB. There's Don Burr. He says trade him for a piece of candy. Candace says FGB. The Gabe says FGB. Lou Dog in there. Your mom, Julian, Candace, Tyrone, Heidi, Chicago legend says Tevin Jenkins from McCole Hardman. I don't think the Chiefs will do that trade personally. Let's see. We got Jose saying FGB. Travis says FGB. Dylan, FGB in the chat. That's something we can all agree on is fuck Green Bay. Am I right? Laura says FGB. Baki says FGB. Daryl says FAR. You can get the F Aaron Rodgers in there as well. All right, we're going to start today's show shortly, so if you're ready to go, like the video. Let's cross 100 likes. Got 257 people watching, 43 likes. Let's get to 100, and yes, the super chats are starting early today, so like the video while we're waiting for those likes to come in. Don Burr kicking things off. FCHI, he says. Detroit versus every damn body. So, Don, thanks for the $2, and congratulations. You just riled up my live chat, so that's always fun as well. Like the video. 25 likes away from 100. Your mom has liked it. Corey has liked it. Hit that thumbs up icon, and once we get to 100 likes, we can start today's show. Someone says trade him for Denzel Mims from the Jets. Now, that could maybe be more in the realm of possibility. A couple of guys who haven't worked out with their current teams. I'd have to think about that. That's an interesting one as well. Corey's liked it. 4 more likes, and we're at 100, and then we can start. Nick has liked the video. Kenny has liked the video. Sean spamming FGB in there as well. All right, I'm seeing 100 likes. We'll go ahead and get this thing started. Get you guys caught up on the latest training camp news and rumors. Live Q&A. We'll answer all your questions. Use hashtag Bears or Super Chat. If you Super Chat, it's a guarantee to get on the show. And then we'll talk about Tevin Jenkins in further detail, the latest trade buzz, and a couple of theories that are out there, my thoughts on the whole situation from when he was drafted to now. And then, yes, we're going to go live on Call-In after our YouTube and Rumble stream, so stick around for that. Your chance to sound off on what's going on with Tevin Jenkins and everything else in between during Chicago Bears training camp. All right, jam-packed show coming up. I'm Harrison Graham. Stay tuned. Here we go here on Bears Now. Today's episode of Chicago Bears Now is presented by Manscaped, the leader in under-the-belt men's grooming. Stay nice and clean this summer with Manscaped. 20% off plus free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use promo code BEARS20. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. Let's get you caught up on the latest Chicago Bear training camp news and rumors. I think we still got to kick things off with the latest on Tevin Jenkins as he was absent once again for the 5th straight day. He's missed 5 practices in a row. I should say the 5th straight practice. There was an off day in there, but 6 training camp practices in the books now, 5 of which Tevin Jenkins has not been present for. I'll be honest, at this point in time, I simply do not expect Tevin Jenkins to be here. I don't expect him to be a part of this thing moving forward. We'll see what the coming days and weeks bring for Tevin Jenkins, but the reality of the situation when it comes to Tevin Jenkins and the Bears right now is there's clearly a disconnect. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the problem is. We're going to explore some theories on a different segment if you're watching on our live show, so stay tuned for that. Based on what we're seeing right now, I just do not expect him to be a part of this thing moving forward with this new regime. Now, Tevin Jenkins was asked on Twitter by somebody, hey, what's going on, bro? Yada, yada, yada. And he replied with, I'm good. Don't believe everything you read. Well, actions speak louder than words. I mean, at this point in time, we can only go off what we know. He's missed 5 straight practices. Matt Eberflus continues to call it he's working with the trainers. No one knows what that means. There's other reports suggesting that there's a disconnect between the two parties, and Rapoport says they're taking trade calls on him. It's not good right now for Tevin Jenkins in Chicago. So we'll ask you this, the pinned comment on today's show. Will Tevin Jenkins get traded? Simple yes or no question. Type Y for yes. Type in for no. Will Tevin Jenkins get traded by the Chicago Bears? Get your votes in down below. Let's talk more about the offensive line now, actual on-the-field happenings as Jenkins remains away from the team. The Bears continue to mix and match up front, which, we kind of expect, especially with Lucas Patrick now out for about 6 weeks with that hand injury. They're certainly going to work some different guys in there, but they're shuffling at all positions, it seems. Stay tuned here. Brad Biggs tweeted this earlier. New twist up front as the Bears continue to mix and match on the offensive line. Braxton Jones at left tackle, Riley Reiff at right tackle with the ones to open team drills. Larry Borom also rotated in at right tackle. Adam Johns tweeted. He also added that Sam Mustipher was at center, Michael Schofield at right guard, Riley Reiff and Borom rotating at right tackle. This is getting pretty interesting. The offensive line is far from settled. Even with Tevin Jenkins out of the mix right now, you would think, okay, maybe that starts to clear things up. Borom just settles in at right tackle, Riley Reiff at left. But now you've got Riley Reiff taking reps at right tackle. Now, this could simply just be they're trying different combinations, right? But it's the first day of padded practices. I found this notable that Reiff and Borom were at right tackle. Not surprised by Borom, obviously, but Reiff had been mostly working at left. And Braxton Jones getting work at left tackle as the primary starter. We'll talk a little bit more about him here in just a second because I think he continues to be a very intriguing name to watch as he has been the entire offseason. Subscribe to the channel if you love the Chicago Bears. We're bringing you training camp updates every single day, the latest news, rumors, injury updates, everything else happening at the practice fields at Halas Hall, and of course rumors circulating the internet like Teven Jenkins trade buzz and other things also. So hit that big red button and subscribe. We're trying to get to 50,000 subs. Still open to ideas on what we do once we hit 50K. Got to get there first. Help us do that by hitting that subscribe button. So you look at this offensive line depth chart, obviously very much in flux. Like I said today, Reiff was working at right tackle. Braxton Jones was in there at left. Patrick's obviously injured, so there's a lot of moving parts. I think ideally this could be your day one starting offensive line, but I think this Braxton Jones thing is starting to get interesting. I think what the O-line looks like comes down to two players. Braxton Jones, Larry Borom, because I don't think both of these players will start. But with Riley Reiff able to play right and left tackle at a comfortable level, at an above-average level, it gives you flexibility. If they feel like they can go with Jones at left, put Reiff at right, if they don't like Borom, that is an option. More on those scenarios in a sec, but with Adam Johns tweeting this out, unless I missed a snap or two, Braxton Jones appeared to take every rep today at left tackle with the Bears starters, and then added again Reiff and Borom on the right side. They clearly like Braxton Jones. I mean, throughout OTAs and minicamp, he emerged as the left tackle. Yes, they signed Riley Reiff, but he's still getting starting reps at left tackle. There is something there. There's no doubt about that in my mind, and I think it is significant that he took the starting reps for the first padded practice at left tackle, arguably the most important position on offense outside of quarterback. That is significant to me. So two scenarios, in my opinion. If Jones is clearly better than Larry Borom, Reiff will play right tackle, and Jones will play left tackle, because it does seem they like Jones as a left tackle. He hasn't really gotten any run at right tackle. Scenario number two, if Borom is better, or maybe if it's close, he's a second-year player, left tackle is a more important position, you could trust Riley Reiff to play there, keep Borom at right, then he would start. Borom at right, Reiff at left. But with Reiff having that flexibility to play either, I think he will start regardless. But if there's a gap between Braxton Jones' play at left tackle and Larry Borom's play at right tackle, there's a chance Braxton Jones could start from day one. And I find that very, very interesting for this Bears offense. Now, who do you guys think will start? If you had to pick one today, who starts on this offensive line? Type BJ for Braxton Jones, type LB for Larry Borom, and let us know down in the comments section. Speaking of BJs, well, if you want one, head over to Manscaped where you can get 20% off plus free shipping for all of their men's grooming products. Producer Jack wasn't the biggest fan of that transition, but you know what? He is a fan of the Lawnmower 4.0, and you should be as well because it's going to keep things nice and trimmed downstairs and give you a better chance to get that BJ later on in the day. Manscaped.com, promo code BEARS20, 20% off plus free shipping. It's hot this summer. You want to keep things nice and smooth. You don't want to be sweating all the time down there. You throw on the boxers as well after you use the Lawnmower 4.0. Going to be nice and smooth, free-wheeling around. You're going to be good to go. Link in the comments, in the description, manscaped.com. Promo code is BEARS20. All right, let's talk about the Bears offense. Up and down, not like Manscaped, very consistent all the time. Bears need to find that consistency offensively. After a good offensive line session, not so good after that. And when I say up and down, definitely more on the downside today. Will DeWitt of CHGO, recommend you guys go check them out. I think they do a good job. Said, offense simply dominated during goal line work, scoring on nearly every play for the entire period. Only saw 2 reps that didn't go in. And this was right in the middle of practice. So you're like, okay, that feels good. First day of padded practices. You're winning up front with this offensive line. I like that. You're finding the end zone. Those are areas in the past where the Bears have sputtered and had to settle for field goals. After this, though, the offense was a mess, according to all reports. I mean, every single reporter with boots on the grounds there just fell apart, and we'll kind of outline that for you. Adam Johns of The Athletic tweeting this out. They went to 7-on-7s after that goal line sequence. Not a good showing during 7-on-7s in the red zone and goal to goal. And then they did a 2-minute drill situation where the Bears are down 6 points with a minute and a half to go or something like that. That was the scenario. They got 2 sequences to try and score in that situation. Not only did they not score, 2 3-and-outs. Starting at your own 20, 2 3-and-outs, only completed 1 pass in the 2 drive opportunities did Justin Fields. Not ideal, right? The offense has got to make strides. And I do think it has made strides overall. Like, I think you're in a better spot now than you were in OTAs and minicamp, but pretty sour finish to practice, it sounds like. The last half hour or so, a lot of incompletions, a lot of balls not heading to the right spot for Fields, some pressure getting in his face as well. You want to make improvements there. Quicker decision-making, better decision-making, and then just making throws and catches, too. Sometimes it wasn't the decision. There's a clip that emerged on Twitter that in a 7-on-7 drill, N'Keal Harry bursted wide open in the end zone. Fields just overthrew him, just missed him. Now he came back to him and hit him in stride, and usually Fields is good about that. He'll bounce back. But you don't want to always have to be bouncing back. You want to just string together good plays and good practices consistently. Offense not quite there yet, I don't think. There's still some hurdles. On the flip side, I do think this defense could be really damn good. How do you feel about the offense right now? Type W if you're worried. Type E if you're encouraged. The answer could be both. You could be encouraged while still having some concerns. And, that's probably about where I am. But I think after today, the first padded practice, probably a little more on the worry side. I'm hoping a bounce back day tomorrow in that second padded practice. But let me know what you guys think. W for worried or E for encouraged. Like I said, Fields typically bounces back. He's got a short memory, which is what you want in a quarterback. But you got to find some consistency. You really, really do. We're still early on in this process. It's still a first-year offense. It's almost a first year in a lot of the sense for Justin Fields. But it's kind of like last year, right? We saw flashes of greatness. We saw really good things. The drive to, in that same exact scenario, actually, down 26-20, drove down against Pittsburgh, a top 10 defense, and took the lead. Bears lost that game on a game-winning field goal, but the point being is we've seen Fields do it. We've also seen inconsistency, and that's kind of been the story early on here in camp. The flashes are there. The ability is there. There's been good practices. Today, not so much. Can we see more consistency? That is what we are shooting for at this point in time. All right, the real ones know what to do. You've made it to the end of the video. If you're a real one here at Bears Now, basically you love the Bears, but more importantly, you hate the Packers. Type FGB if you made it to the end of the video here because, hey, fuck Green Bay. Get some shout-outs here. Get the FGBs going down below. Funkbringer. We got William, your mom, Frank, the Gabe, Arthur, Elliott, Chaz, O'Reilly, Nonchalant. Thomas says practice is just practice. It is and it isn't, though. It's a young team with a new coaching staff trying to find consistency, Thomas. And, yeah, there's 2 sides of the coin. On the flip side, you can say, oh, the defense balled out. So, I think we'll see more as we get closer to week 1, obviously. But I do think these practices matter. Don Burr trying to make a joke with FCHI. Sean says FGB, so does Miguel. About Monty, George, Ernest, Palank. We got Tyler in there. Jordan saying FMIN as well. Ronnie says FGB. Keep the FGBs flowing in the comment section. Here we go. Yeah, this is an interesting one. Harrison Graham's beer, my old burner, says he has COVID. What is the new protocol? 5 days in quarantine, and then you're good to go. You're not contagious after that. So that's the recommendation. Not for me. That's what the CDC says to do. All right, mailbag time. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat. By the way, we got a few supers lined up. We will hit those during the mailbag, and if you keep the supers flowing, we'll keep answering those questions. So go ahead and load them up. That's an easy way to skip to the front of the line. I guarantee to get on the show. If you don't Super Chat, use hashtag Bears. We'll try to get to as many of those as well. All right, here we go. Live Q&A time. It's mailbag time here on Chicago Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham, ready to answer all of your questions as we continue to roll along during Bears training camp. Let's start with Larry Lapper with the $5 Super. Has there been any subscribers that have been more accurate than me regarding Bears predictions? I mean, Larry, I feel like the only thing you've consistently said is that Justin Fields isn't the guy, and I don't think that a bad training camp finish to a practice really proves anything. I just said that you got to be more consistent and improve, but one bad practice on a Tuesday I don't think dictates the entire season. But I appreciate it, and you're entitled to your opinion, as am I. Let's see what happens when games start to happen. Tyler with the Super Chat, with all of these receivers getting overpaid, if Mooney has another big year, how much money will Mooney demand in the future on a contract extension? A lot. Thank you, producer Jack. I tweeted this out the other day. He's going to get over $20 million a year if he has another 1,000-plus yard season. That's just where the market is right now. I kind of view Darnell Mooney as a Brandon Cooks type, maybe with a little more potential, and I think Cooks got right around $20 million per year on an extension with Houston. So I think 20 to 22, 23 million per year on a 2-3 year extension. It kind of seems like 3-year deals are where most deals are going, so these guys can hit the market again at a good age. So 3 years and, I don't know, 66 million, 22 a year. I could see something like that for Mooney. And hey, if he makes that, that means he's had another good year. So I think it's a win-win for the Bears. If he doesn't perform that well this year, he's got one more year on his contract. We revisit things next offseason. But over 20 million per year, Tyler, especially if he has another big season. Harrison Graham's beard, seeing all the good things about all the different wide receivers, St. Brown, Jones, and Harry. I really couldn't guess the lineup after the obvious ones. Yeah, I think that is a good sign. I think there has been some signs that these receivers could be a little bit better than we thought on paper. And again, you only need a couple to emerge, really. You got Darnell Mooney. I think Velus Jones Jr. is going to be an impact player, at least on some level from day one. I still like Byron Pringle. I think he's more of a 3 than a 2, but, it could be kind of positionless after Darnell Mooney where different guys contribute. St. Brown had a nice practice at the end of last week. N'Keal Harry had a good day on Tuesday. So, yeah, I mean, these guys have had their moments, but I think as a whole, the offense just a little more sharpness, a little more consistency. There's been some drops. There's been some missed throws by Fields. But we've definitely seen the big-time flashes and potential. Just got to tighten it up a little bit. Bruce Williams with the question, if the Bears don't trust Larry Borom to start, could Riley Reiff play right tackle and Chicago go sign Eric Fisher? That's an interesting idea because on Tuesday's practice, depending on when you're watching this, Bruce, Braxton Jones got all the reps at left tackle. Riley Reiff and Larry Borom kind of rotated at right tackle. Now, I am convinced Riley Reiff will start. It's just a matter of if it's on the right or left side. But I would not rule out signing another offensive lineman. If the Bears aren't comfortable with Braxton Jones or Larry Borom, then I think they could go out and sign another vet. Eric Fisher is still out there. Dwayne Brown is still out there. There's a couple of options. Hell, Jason Peters, if you want to bring him back, you could plant Reiff on the right side, bring in one of these guys to play left. It is an option. Now, I think the Bears would rather have one of these young guys emerge and start, but we'll have to wait and see. I would not rule it out. The Bears still have money to play with. Should the Bears sign Eric Fisher? What do you think? Type S for sign, type P for pass. Let us know down in the comments section. My burner again, seeing all the good things. Oh, we already answered this one, producer Jack, about the wide receivers. Appreciate the question, though. And yeah, I think they're going to continue to compete there. Nonchalant 54, what's with the national media disrespect? Feeling kind of personal these days. Look, the reality is that the narrative on paper is that this new Bears regime hasn't invested in year one. There's some truth to that. I don't think it's completely true, though. And I think the national narrative is that the Bears aren't necessarily tanking, but this is a big-time rebuild year. And I think it is somewhat of a rebuilding year. But it could be a transition type year where, yes, you're rebuilding and you're more building towards something, but you could still compete while doing that. I continue to say the Eagles last year are a good example. I think they started 2-5. They rallied to go 9-8 and make the playoffs once they started to kind of get their feet wet in the middle of that season. I could see the Bears being a similar type of team where they start slow potentially, but they start to play better mid-year. Justin Fields gets more comfortable, and by the end of the year, they're a dangerous team. I could see that being a possibility, but it's up to the Bears to change the national narrative. That's just the reality of the situation. LOD King, what rank do you think the Bears will be in the NFC North at the end of the year? If I had to say right now, I'd say probably third. Green Bay, Minnesota on paper are ahead of Chicago right now, I would say, but I wouldn't rule out being higher on that list. Both those teams do have question marks, new coaching staff in Minnesota. Packers offense has some questions, even though Rodgers is special. We don't know what things are going to look like at wide receiver, so let's see. I think this team's still better than Detroit. We'll see about the other two teams, though. Philip Palmisano, Harrison, do you see any early potential cut candidates from other teams that could bolster the Bears roster? I think one guy to monitor is Jalen Reagor with the Eagles. I could see him getting cut from Philly maybe, and if he does, I could see the Bears picking him up. Ian Cunningham came over from the Eagles front office, so he should know Reagor. That could be a potential connection there if you want to add another young, talented, yet disappointing up to this point weapon. I could see them poaching a linebacker. I couldn't name one off the top of my head, but to give you another player at that position, obviously I think Roquan will be back and play week 1, but after him and Nicholas Morrow, it's a little shaky. I could see a linebacker being a guy to target as well. Do you guys want some live post-game shows after our watch parties? And if you don't know what our watch parties are, we go live every single week during the regular season and in the preseason, by the way. That's the plan, for live watch parties where I provide play-by-play. We have a scoreboard, and, we're drinking beers and breaking down the game in real time. Do you want a live post-game show where you get to interact in the post-game show? If you do, type Y for yes. If you're like, I don't care about post-game shows. I don't care about my voice being heard. Type in for no, but I think you guys do. And if you do, follow us on Callin, because there's a loose plan in place to do some live post-game shows on the Callin app. We've been with these guys since the NFL draft. Go live once a week on Tuesdays after our YouTube and Rumble streams to just chop it up with you guys. You guys hop in the caller queue. It's kind of like Twitter Spaces, but it's got more features. Audio social podcasting app. It's live. There's a live chat. And I want to hear you guys sound off after games. So imagine a game ends, it's a great win for the Bears or a tough loss, and I go live on Callin, I give my post-game reaction, and then I open the phones to you guys, and you guys get to sound off. Sound good to me? Sound good? I hope it sounds good to you. Chatsports.com/BearsCallin to subscribe on the Callin app. Download the app on iOS and Android. You can actually only call in if you have it on your mobile device. You can listen to the show on your computer, but you can't call in. So download the app and then find us by searching Bears Now or by searching that link in your browser. Matt Nagy, what's going on, Coach? Is Poles being too cheap with Roquan's new deal? I think he's negotiating. I do think Ryan Poles is careful with his money and how he operates a salary cap. I also think he's working under a situation where he had to maneuver a lot of contracts this year. He had to take on almost $60 million in dead cap, a lot of which was thanks to Ryan Pace. So I don't know about cheap, but careful, being a smart negotiator, trying to get the best deal possible. Yeah, I think there's probably some truth to that. Levi D, who has a better season, Travis Gibson or Aiden Bustinson? Talking about Aiden Hutchinson. I'll actually go Gibson, third-year player. Now, pure overall raw talent, Hutchinson was a number 2 overall pick. I mean, Travis Gibson was 5th rounder. But Gibson had 7 sacks last year. I think if Detroit got 7 sacks as a rookie out of Hutchinson, they'd be pretty happy. I've told you guys for a couple months. I think one of my hot takes for the Bears this year is Travis Gibson will have 10-plus sacks. I think he's that good, that talented, and that capable. And I think this pass rush with him, Robert Quinn, and Al-Quadin Muhammad could be pretty damn nasty. So, yeah, I'll lean Gibson this year. Long-term, Hutchinson's got more ability, but he's got a lot to prove in his young career. Frank Brown, do you think Kendall Vilder is only getting first-team reps because of Thomas Graham's injury? I don't think that's the only reason. Vilder actually got some nickel reps on Tuesday, so, they're kind of moving him around just like they are Kyler Gordon, playing them both outside nickel. Look, I know everyone's down on Vilder, but the value he brings is experience. He's started over a season's worth of games. That's valuable. Even if he ends up being your CB4 or 5 as a backup and can be a special teams contributor, at least you have a guy that has played in real games. That is not always the case for backups in a cornerback room. So we'll see. My anticipation still is that Tavon Young, Kyler Gordon, and Jalen Johnson, probably the best chance to be your 3 starting corners. But I could see a scenario where Gordon starts in the nickel and Vilder's your CB2 on the outside, maybe even with a little bit of a rotation. Look, Eberflus isn't handing out jobs. They're going to let these guys compete throughout camp. Subscribe to Chicago Bears now because we'll have you hit with those updates during training camp. Hit that notification bell as well because we've gotten a lot of new subscribers recently, but only like 16, 17% of you guys have turned that notification bell on. So after you subscribe, there's a little bell icon. Click it, and then select the all word. That way you always get notified when we publish a video or when we go live. YouTube.com/BearsNow. That's the link to share with all your friends. But if you're watching right now, which you are, just hit that red button and turn on that notification bell for more Bears coverage. Sam Ortiz, Calvin Ridley, realistic weapon target next season. It's possible. I think if you're someone who wants Calvin Ridley, you should be rooting for these other weapons for the Falcons to do really well this year. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, you want these guys to pop off because if they struggle, then the Falcons are going to be like, well, we at least know Ridley's good, so we're going to get him back. I'd love to trade for Calvin Ridley, and in reality, you probably wouldn't have to trade a first-round pick for him either after missing a year and a half. So, yeah, I'm very much open to a Calvin Ridley trade. Jared Myers, what kind of trade value does Tevin Jenkins have? I've put the value as a 4th. Maybe I'm being optimistic. It might be more like a 5th. Guys, here's the reality. He had a back surgery last year, only played in 5 or 6 games, and now he's, at least publicly, he looks like a player who's disgruntled. That's how it looks. Whether that's true or not, that's the reality. That's the narrative in the NFL, and that hurts his trade value. I think if you got a 4th for him, especially if it was for a team that you don't think is going to be great, and it's an earlier 4th-round pick, top 100, top 115 pick, you might just take it and run, man. And as crappy as that sounds, I think you'd have to consider it. So I'll say a 4th or a 5th, Jared. I don't think you're getting a 2nd or a 3rd. Be sure to subscribe on the Callin app. Like I said, we want to do some live post-game shows during the preseason and on into the regular season. Chatsports.com/BearsCallin. We will have you updated over there with weekly shows and your chance to interact with me when it comes to talking about the Chicago Bears. Speaking of Callin, we're going to go live on Callin after this upcoming segment. We're going to talk about Tevin Jenkins, the latest going on there. And then your chance to sound off on Tevin Jenkins, Justin Fields, everything else happening at Bears training camp. So buckle up, stay tuned. We're going to have you guys covered. The link to subscribe is in the live chat. Remember to download the app on your iPhone or your Android, whatever phone you have. Just search Callin. It'll pop right up. That color down there, kind of like that, that pinkish red. That's kind of the color of their logo, so you should be able to find it easily. If you search Bears Now, you'll be able to find us. Or once you download the app, click the link in the live chat. It should redirect you right there to subscribe. So we'll see you on Callin in a few minutes. But first, we got to talk about Tevin Jenkins, what's going on with him, and what his future could look like. Bears fans, be honest with me. Do you want Tevin Jenkins to get traded? This isn't what you think is going to happen. What do you want to happen? You're in charge. You're Ryan Poles. Do you want Tevin Jenkins to get traded? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. We're going to explore the latest on Jenkins on today's show. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. We are sponsored by Mint Mobile. If prices are going up on all your bills, lower them with your cell phone wireless provider. Plan starting at just $15 per month with Mint Mobile. It has changed my life, and my bank account is growing by the day. Get started right now with Mint Mobile, mintmobile.com/chatsports. All right, on today's show, Tevin Jenkins trade rumors, what's going on, I think, plus some theories too. A couple of things to explore as this continues to unfold. We'll kind of progress to that part of the show later on. But let's get you caught up on the latest, some background here. In case you aren't fully caught up, Ian Rapoport reported on Monday afternoon that the Bears are taking calls on Tevin Jenkins. He, of course, has missed the last several practices, 5 straight as of Tuesday afternoon, and there's a lot of reports, theories that continue to circulate the internet. The Bears blog had something that we'll get to later. Our friend David Kaplan has some opinions and thoughts out there as well. Lots going on, and it's all negative around Tevin Jenkins, but this really ramped up, like I said, when Ian Rapoport reported that the Bears have received calls and have held trade talks centered around Jenkins. Sources tell him and Mike Garafolo, former second-round pick, has drawn interest based on his potential, which he does have big-time potential. Garafolo added this also. As often is the case, new regime is much more willing to part with draft picks they didn't make. We'll see what happens with the Bears and Tevin Jenkins. And yeah, we'll see, and I kind of imagine something's going to happen quickly here. Now, I do want to add, Tevin Jenkins responded to someone on Twitter. Do we have that tweet, Jack? We'll go to that tweet real quick. Someone said, "Hey, man, what's going on? You okay?" And he said, "I'm good. Don't believe everything you read." I'm in the camp of, hey, actions speak louder than words, and you're not at practice for whatever reason. But, maybe that's something to consider from the man himself. Here's the bottom line. Things are trending in the wrong direction. That's just the reality of it. Whatever Tevin Jenkins says on Twitter, I don't carry with that much value right now. He's missed 5 straight practices. Hey, if he's hurt, he's hurt. But that's not exactly positive either. If you're hurt enough to miss 5 straight practices, that's a problem in itself as well. If you're not hurt and you're just disgruntled, or the Bears are disgruntled with you, that is also a problem. So things trending down. It's not looking good at this point in time. We'll obviously monitor the latest developments out of training camp, which is why you should subscribe. If Tevin Jenkins gets traded, we're going to break it down. Subscribe to the channel today for the latest Bears news and rumors out of training camp. And yeah, if the Bears make a big trade like this, we will break it down. Probably go live, depending on what time of day it happens, if I'm available to come into the studio. All right, so I kind of want to explore with Tevin Jenkins here. How did we get here? How did we get to this point? I think a big moment in this, after the Bears, of course, drafted him, we can look at a timeline here, is the back surgery he had. Because he had some back problems coming out of college, but then after the Bears traded up to draft him, number 39 overall, he has another back surgery in a different part of the back, by the way, completely unrelated to the other back problems. So you're talking about 2 separate back issues. I think that really set him back before playing a few games last year. I think the back issues have held him back. I do wonder if that second surgery kind of limits some of the flexibility, some of the mobility, because everybody's like, well, he's a mauler. He doesn't fit in this scheme. Well, his athletic testing score actually was pretty high. I'm not going to say he was the most agile offensive lineman, but he wasn't unflexible, if that makes sense. He was above average in the athleticism department. So I wonder if that second back injury really set him back. So that's number one. Number two, lack of continuity between Jenkins and this Bears regime. I think this is the most obvious one. They are clearly not on the same page here. This new regime of Matt Eberflus, Ryan Poles, I'll throw Chris Morgan in there too, the offensive line coach, and Tevin Jenkins, not in sync. Something happened, in my opinion, during OTAs, because that last week of OTAs, he went from getting starting reps to not getting starting reps. And since then, he has not taken a single starting rep to my knowledge. Obviously, he's missed most of training camp to this point, but even the first training camp practice, he was working with the twos at right tackle. And during minicamp, he did not get starting reps either. So something happened, in my opinion. I don't know if there was a specific incident or if it was just a feeling among this new Bears regime, but clearly these guys are not on the same page. More things to consider in a moment. But I do want to shout out today's sponsor, Mint Mobile. They are fantastic. I told you earlier, $15 per month phone plans, which is great. A lot of phone bills are over $100 these days. Unlimited talk and text, high-speed data on the nation's largest 5G LTE network. It comes with a free mobile hotspot, which is nice as well. I think the coolest part about Mint Mobile is they will send you an eSIM card, a digital SIM card. You can keep your same phone and your same phone number and just switch through the digital SIM card from whatever your current provider is to Mint Mobile. It takes about 15 or 20 minutes. It's really simple, really easy. Don't believe me? Go to mintmobile.com/chatsports. Plan starting at just $15 per month. Save some money with Mint Mobile today, just like I have. All right, how did we get here? Point number 3 with Tevin Jenkins. Positional shuffling. I do think the Bears organization does deserve some blame. Not necessarily this new regime, but the Bears as a whole. Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy trade up to get Teven Jenkins, which, by the way, I actually didn't mind that. I thought Teven Jenkins was a first-round talent, and they got him at 39 overall. I'm fine with that. What really caught my eye, though, is they moved him to left tackle, because clearly they viewed him as that. I did not. He played primarily right tackle in college. Obviously, he has the back surgery. We didn't see him play enough games at left to really make a determination. But in my opinion, he was not a left tackle. He's a right tackle. That's what this regime viewed him as. So last year, he gets all ready to go, switches to left tackle, goes public with the media. Is like, yeah, I've finally gotten more comfortable. I'm a left tackle. That regime goes. New regime comes in. Hey, no, you're a right tackle. So that's tough for Jenkins to deal with. I will give him, some not a pass, but I can at least be understanding with that. They've moved him around a lot for a player who's only been in the organization for a year and some change. So I do think that's a bit challenging for a young player. All right, point number 4. And again, this is kind of like point number 2. This is more on Jenkins, in my opinion. I just don't think he's buying in. What did we hear when Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus took this job? Hits principles, stuff like we're going to weed guys out that don't fit into our program. Culture, they're setting in their own standards and culture, and we've heard players talk about it, way more accountability now than with the last regime. I don't think Teven Jenkins is connecting with that. I don't think he's buying into what this new regime is selling. And, hey, the reality is that's unfortunate, but also at the same time, they'll be like, okay, we're just going to move you then. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not confident he's going to be here. He just has not responded to adversity. It's very possible at OTAs and minicamp, Eberflus said, hey, let's work Teven with the 2, see how he responds to that. Well, he hasn't worked with the 1 since. So did he fold mentally? Is he not built to handle adversity? You got to be if you're going to play in the National Football League, especially as an offensive lineman. You have got to be tough at that position. The Bears blog, who's tapped in pretty well to the organization, was all over the coaching search. Jeff Hughes, want to give him some love here. He tweeted out kind of a four-tweet thread. I just want to focus on this one, though. He said, one friend told me in the spring that the combination of Poles, Eberflus, and Chris Morgan, the offensive line coach, would seriously test Teven Jenkins' resolve. Since that note, I've constantly repeated the question, how does this leadership view Jenkins? Nowhere. How? I think we have our answer. I think that's very legitimate. He has not responded well since the spring, as it would appear. David Kaplan hopped on his show, Unfiltered, whatever it is that he does with NBC in Chicago. He called Jenkins immature, basically. Says he's not mature, doesn't think he's injured, says he's immature. There were some maturity question marks coming out of Oklahoma State. You've read, other loose reports have surfaced that, he would have emotional breakdowns at Oklahoma State. That's a tough thing, man. Like, you got to be built different to play in the NFL, and maybe Teven Jenkins just isn't. It's very possible. All right, so I want to run through a couple theories and thoughts, which I kind of have throughout the show already. Number 1, I just don't think Teven Jenkins has mental toughness. I think he lacks mental toughness, and I do want to be careful. I want to understand, separate legitimate mental health issues from someone who's just not tough enough to play in the NFL. Like, if there's some mental health thing going on, that's a totally different thing. I'm just saying I don't think he's the most coachable player, and I don't think he responds well to adversity. That is what I'm saying. But I want to be very clear on the wording because I think it's important. So that's number 1. And number 2, you add all this up, I think he's going to get traded because of that. I think this regime is hard-nosed, and if you don't meet their standards, you're not going to be here very long. So I think they're going to take calls. I think if they get what they think is a reasonable offer for Teven Jenkins, they will pounce on it, and they will wipe their hands clean and move on from it. Yeah, it sucks. Top 40 pick last year. The prior regime moved up to get him. But you know what? It hasn't worked out, and if the new regime doesn't value him, it doesn't really matter where he got drafted last year because the new regime may not value him at all at the end of the day. So I posed this on my social medias, at HGramNFL on Twitter and Instagram. I'll ask you guys here. Would you trade Teven Jenkins for a 4th-round pick? I think that's reasonable at this point. You drafted him in the 2nd. He hasn't played that much. He's disgruntled. If you could get a 4th, I think it's a decent offer. Type T for trade, type K for keep. Would you rather keep him or trade him for a 4th-round pick? Get some shout-outs here as we progress forward here. And then shortly we're going to go live here on the Call-In app, so stay tuned for that as well. T for trade, K for keep. Got Edwin saying trade. Chaz says trade. Got Dwayne saying trade. Let's see. JM says keep. Kenneth says keep. DLW says keep. Alan Mack says trade. Ernest says trade. DLW says keep. Bear Forever with a super chat. Appreciate it, my friend. Got words for the haters. Picking the Bears to win 4 games or less, Harrison. Let's hear them. Just disagree, really. I'm not going to attack anyone over that opinion. I think they're wrong. I don't think they'll win 4 or less games. I think, sure, the floor might be 4 or 5, but I just think this team's going to play too hard and be too scrappy to win 3 or 4 games. I don't agree with that. So I think 6 or 7 wins is way more likely than 4. So that is where I fall on that one. All right, we're about to be live on Call-In. Let me just get a tweet going here. T for trade, K for keep. If you want to get more shout-outs there. As we go live on Call-In, chatsports.com/BearsCall-In. We'll get the link in the live chat shortly. So pull up my phone here as we're about to go live. Let's see here. All right. Here we go. Starting the Call-In room right now. And then we will get the link in the live chat. Here we go, live on Call-In. So hop in the caller queue. We get the link in the live chat as well. Going to take all your calls, talk about the latest rumblings from training camp. So be sure to hop in that caller queue. We'll get some conversation going. We got a few in there. We got a burner account for me hopping in there. Why do I feel like this is Marsh, who's on some kind of a burner? I could totally see him doing that. Producer Jack doesn't think that's the case, so we'll have to wait and see on that front. Join us in the Call-In app. We'll take 1 or 2 calls while we're still live on YouTube and Rumble. Then we'll sign off on YouTube and Rumble and just chat on the Call-In app. We'll kind of open the floor, open mic style. You guys can ask your questions, and we will go from there. So, got 20 people waiting already. We'll take a call here to get things started. We got Caden in the caller queue. Caden, welcome in. Whenever you're ready, you can click that mic button in the bottom right-hand corner to unmute yourself, and we can talk about the Bears. What's up?
Can you hear me, brother?
I got you. What's up?
Oh, man, I've been waiting so long to talk to you. This is a pleasure. Thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
I just think that everyone's really judging Tevin Jenkins. They haven't even put their correct.
Haven't even put the pads on
in training camp.
Yeah. Today was
Bears
the first.
are just using pads today.
Today was the
Why
first.
Why are we even judging him until they put pads on? Isn't his main trait like? Yeah.
Well, I think the problem is, Caden, is no one knows what the hell. No one knows what the hell.
Isn't his main trait is like physicality and his aggressiveness?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and let me.
I'm sorry, my internet must suck.
Put you on mute here for a second. The problem, Caden, is that no one knows what the hell is going on. Why is he not at practice? Is he injured? Like, Eberflus keeps saying, oh, he's working with the trainers. Well, what the hell does that mean? I think there's a real conversation to if he's actually hurt or not. If he's hurt, great. I mean, not great because that stinks, but like, okay, that's a legitimate reason. But Ian Rapoport goes on Twitter and says, yeah, the Bears are taking trade calls on him. That indicates to me that there's a disconnect between Jenkins and the Bears. So that's how I would take that. So that is just a thought on that front. Okay, I'll take one more here from Chaz, and then we'll sign off here on YouTube and on Rumble. Chaz, welcome in. What's up, man?
What up? So, with Thomas Graham being injured, do you think he'll still become a starter?
I mean, I think it sets him back. It becomes a bit of a more of an uphill battle, you know. I think on paper, him and Tavon Young were going to compete for that nickel job, but you've seen Kyler Gordon and Kendall Vilder get reps there as well. So we know in Eberflus's defense they value that spot. So if I had to guess today, I would say he would not be a week 1 starter, but I think he's in the mix. I mean, I think if he can get back, say before the second preseason game, he would still have a chance to earn a starting job, but I do think this does set him back just a little bit. I don't think his roster spot's in jeopardy. I do think he'll make this team, but I think it does become a little harder for him to become a week 1 starter.
I think that that Tevin Jenkins can get rid of him for a 5th or a 6th. I don't even care. Like, all he does is get injured, and they just spend money on him trying to get better, and then he don't want to show up to work. He's getting paid all his money.
I mean,
it's like, you better do something.
That might be his value, honestly. 4th might be generous at the end of the day. So we'll see how it plays out.
That 7th that we use for whatever his name is.
Kill Harry.
Yeah, we can go ahead and get that back.
That was the 2024 7th. So hopefully you'd get a little more than that for Tevin. But yeah, I hear you. I mean, just replace that pick, maybe a little more, be good to go. So yeah, it's unfortunate, man.
Love the show.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, there he goes. And we're going to sign off on YouTube and on Rumble. We'll crank things up on call-in. We got 9 callers in the caller queue, so stick with us here. We're going to get to all of those callers and more. Appreciate everybody hanging out here on Rumble. We'll put the link in there a couple more times. 400 people still on YouTube. We're putting the link in the live chat. So if you want to stay a part of the conversation, give your thoughts on what's going on with the Bears. Join us on call-in, link in the live chat. Download the app on your iPhone or Android. We'll see you over there. We're signing off here on YouTube.